We are less than a month away from knowing the rosters for the Canadian, American, Finn, and Swedish teams for the Four Nation Faceoffs. Today I'm going to begin a little mini-series predicting my rosters and who I think will be on these teams, starting with Team Canada, and that's coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, today we're projecting the Team Canada roster for the upcoming 2025 Four Nation Face-Off hockey event, which will take place this coming February. However, the rosters are going to be revealed here just in around a month's time. So we're kind of getting to that point now that we have, NHL seasons well underway. Most teams have played, 10, 12, 13 games. We have a pretty good idea where a lot of players sit. Some players are already confirmed, the first 6 for each team. And now we're going to fill out the rest of those rosters. I'm going to start with the goaltending because I know there's a lot of, I don't want to call it controversy, but a lot of, difference of opinions out there on who will be the goalies, because clearly for Canada, this is likely going to be the weakness, okay? Now, but obviously the team in front of them, if they're really good, like you think they could be, it may not play that big of a role, but it has the potential. I mean, it's not like the Americans who are just so deep in goal. It's crazy. There's a good likelihood that there's going to be at least one goalie, if not 2, left off the roster of the American team that could probably be a starter for Team Canada in a heartbeat. But the 3 goaltenders that I think are going to be on this team, one, and I'm not saying that they're going to be in this order for who's going to start or whatnot, but the 3 goalies that they will select will be Jordan Binnington for starters. Doug Armstrong, the Blues GM, is the head guy here, the head honcho for selecting this roster. I know he believes a lot in Binnington. Binnington has a Stanley Cup to his name. He's seen firsthand what he can do. Now, I know his stats have kind of been up and down, not the greatest since then, but if you look at the pool of Canadian goaltenders, he does like to play, in the big moments. He's had some international experience, world championships, and, at the end of the day, as much as I know Binnington's got a mix of haters and lovers out there, but he's going to be one of our goalies. I have no doubt, mainly because of who's picking it and the lack of depth at the position. Number 2, we're going to go with Adin Hill, the Vegas Golden Knights. Adin Hill, of course, another Stanley Cup winning goaltender. Obviously was really good on Vegas's cup run. Outside of that, his body work, since then, since he's gotten to Vegas, he's actually been a lot better. But prior to that, during his time between San Jose and the Coyotes, it certainly wasn't anywhere near as impactful. But at the same time, goaltenders often are the position that you see kind of mature and come into their own at the latest age. It's not unusual to find a 25, 26-year-old goaltender, which will often be referred to as a late bloomer, but really based on the position, it's really not. So I think he's had his tested moments during the Stanley Cup playoffs that I think he's been, obviously able to come through and help his team win the Stanley Cup. So that's a big deal. And I think he will be on this team as well. There was a point when I thought maybe his old goaltending duo partner, Logan Thompson, would be on this team. I'm not so sure now. I think Stuart Skinner will be the other goalie on this club. Now, I know with Skinner, he's got his ups and downs, but he proved last year in the playoffs with the Oilers when it mattered most that he could be the guy. So obviously I think he got the job done. He was 1 game away from being a Stanley Cup champion, and if you look at the general consensus, that it would be what is going to be important in this role. Now, Logan Thompson theoretically is a Stanley Cup champion, but didn't really play a whole lot in that run and didn't really have to face the pressure and the music during the team's biggest challenging moments. So, in all honesty, I think these will be the 3 goaltenders. Like I said, there was once upon a time we had guys like Marty Brodeur, Patrick Waugh. We were. Even Marc-Andre Fleury, maybe has an outside shot. If they want to have a goalie come in who they might not even play, but just be there for the experience and kind of be like an extra coach and motivator, I wouldn't be shocking for Fleury's last season if he was even invited to be part of that, over one of these guys. That would not be, he was for me kind of like that wild card that I kind of, was thinking, it's just, he's such an easy guy to cheer for. Kind of always had a soft spot for him because he's such a likable guy. And, the odds are that whoever's the number 3 goalie on this team probably ain't playing. It's a short tournament, really short, shorter than the Olympics. So there's a possibility one guy may play all the games. If one guy plays and he falters, maybe they go to a second guy. But the odds of them going more than that, probably thin and slim. So, maybe they bring a veteran along like that. Because you can make the argument that another guy, younger guy, maybe like a Skinner comes along and he's there for the experience for the Olympics and future tournaments, that maybe he'll be, one of the top one or two guys. And then you can have the other argument that maybe you bring a veteran over because they need that level of experience and that extra, coaching and motivator and just, morale guy on the team. So we'll see what happens. But to me, those are your three guys. Looking at the blue line, I think it's real easy to look at this in pairs. Obviously, like I said, short tournament, you need guys that have chemistry together. And in Canada, they're fortunate to have a lot of elite level defensemen and a lot of guys that actually do play together, if you can do that. Now, looking at some of the other clubs, like the Americans, they're going to have a really good D-core too, but they don't have as many pairs that are already together in an NHL roster. So it might have a little harder time with the chemistry, and that's a possibility. So for me, you're taking Cale Makar and Devon Toews from the Colorado Avalanche as your top pair. I mean, Makar is likely, I don't think much of an argument, going to be your top defenseman anyway. And Toews is really, really good in his own right. They play extremely well together. They've won a Stanley Cup together, and they are very comfortable with each other, and they have that chemistry. So to me, there's no doubt that they earn it individually on their own right. And then you throw in the idea that, like I said, you don't have to worry about the chemistry. It's there from day one. That's an easy choice. For me, pair two, it's another one from the Cup champions in Vegas, Theodore and Pietrangelo. Shea Theodore, Alex Pietrangelo, you get a lot, and they're both lefty-righty, same as Toews Makar. You can both play different style. They both have good size. Both defend well. Theodore's a great skater. Pietrangelo got multiple Stanley Cups, and of course, like I said, the connection to Doug Armstrong, I don't think he needs that to be on this team. He's obviously got a ton of great experience, multiple cups, right shot defenseman, can play in pretty well all situations. I don't think Pietrangelo needs any help from Doug Armstrong here, but it's also an easy choice because of the fact that you have two guys that are teammates. They've played a lot together over the years. They have that chemistry. They know each other's likes and how they like to do things out there, and it's easy. Your third pair is where all the questions come up, and I honestly don't think that in Canada's case, there's really any much question about who your top four defensemen are going to be. It's 5, 6, 7 that there's a lot of different names that could play that role. For me, I'm going with a pair because there's really not an NHL pair, in my opinion, that are already teammates, already defense partners that would be a great fit here. I'm going with Josh Morrissey of the Winnipeg Jets and Evan Bouchard of the Edmonton Oilers. Now, there's lots of other questions you could go about this. Some feel maybe your third pair should be more guys who can kill penalties, more defensive style, and maybe they go that route. And to be honest, I'll talk here in a second about what I think they might do if that's the case. But in all honesty, Josh Morrissey, to me, I think makes the team regardless of what style you want, because I think he's more of a complete defenseman than a lot of the options that you could put on this third pair. Evan Bouchard, of course, has that big shot, the Bouch bomb, can play in the power play. He's probably not going to take PP1 time from Cale Makar, but he could certainly be a guy on the second power play unit. Like I said, the big shot. Great puck mover, really smart with his passes. You get Morrissey, he's a little bit more of the complete guy. So in all honesty, I think they would complement each other extremely well. A couple of other names though, because you're gonna carry at least one extra defenseman. Who's that going to be? Well, there's a lot of different options, right? If you want more defensive style guys, I wouldn't completely rule out a guy like Chris Tanev, to be honest. I mean, Tanev could be, and depending on who you're playing, maybe you want him in, maybe you don't think you need him so much. But, he's obviously one of the better defensive defensemen in the NHL. He can be an excellent penalty killer, block shots. He's definitely that warrior mentality and would probably love for an opportunity to represent his country. So I wouldn't rule out Tanev being on this team. Some other guys that I considered and could be, either selected or maybe be like that extra player that may not see the ice a lot, but Brandon Montour is a name, Noah Dobson, maybe an Owen Power or Thomas Chabot. I just don't know that they're going to be selected over the six I put up. And I said, if you want that defensive style guy, if the coaching staff and management crew decide they really think they need that, and it wouldn't shock me if they did, then maybe Tanev gets the edge. Maybe Tanev and Morrissey is your third pair, and a guy like Bouchard ends up being the extra guy. And that's a good problem to have. So at the end of the day, they're going to have a lot of great options on defense, and I think they'll be in good hands no matter what. Now, the forward group, to me, was challenging. There's obviously going to be some guys left off this team that maybe deserve it. To me, I started with the centerman and then worked out with who's going to be the wingers, because a lot of these guys that are going to be wingers, at least a few of them, are going to be natural centers, at least 2, maybe 3 of them. So, your 4 centers for me are going to be McDavid, Braden Point, Sidney Crosby, and Ryan O'Reilly. I think those are going to be your 4 centers. Crosby is an excellent two-way center. O'Reilly's one of the best two-way centers. Great on faceoffs. It's won the Selke Trophy. Can check the other team's top guys. Crosby is, very underrated in that regard as well. So I'm not saying Crosby's going to be like in a checking role, but in all honesty, he's very responsible. He could be on a scoring line that's also not going to give up much to the other team. So to me, that's kind of the way I went with the centerman down the middle. And then like I said, you're going to have some centermen that are 100% on his team. Someone's already confirmed that are going to be on the wing. With McDavid's line, I thought great compliments would be Zach Hyman, 50-goal scorer last year. Started a little slow this year, but he's picked up the pace lately. And he's a great digger, hard worker, and complements McDavid extremely well. And then we're going to go with Nathan MacKinnon. MacKinnon and McDavid's speed will be unmatched in this tournament. They are arguably the 2 fastest skaters in the NHL. When angry MacKinnon's coming up the ice with purpose and speed, who can stop the guy? So MacKinnon, to me, will play wing on this tournament in this team instead of at center where he normally plays, given the deep group of other guys who can do that for them here. So McDavid, MacKinnon, Hyman is what I have as, we'll call it line 1, but really a lot of these lines could be line 1 on any given night. Braden Point, I'm going to put Sam Reinhart on this team. And another choice that was tough, but I'm going with Brandon Hagel. Hagel's a very underrated player with the Lightning. He's going to be a 30-plus goal guy for multiple seasons in this league, 60, 70 points, complimentary players, used to playing with high-end talent. Doesn't play all the time with Braden Point, but they're teammates, so they certainly would have a lot of familiarity with each other. And Sam Reinhart, if anybody out there is thinking Reinhart may or may not be on this team, you're crazy. He's one of the best two-way wingers in the NHL. Look at the goals he put up last year, over like 60 goals or whatever it was. Yes, he plays with Barkov, but he's not one of those players that has gotten better from Barkov. I just think because Barkov is so smart and so responsible that his stats have gotten even better. But Reinhart is an incredibly talented, very, very smart player, very responsible, smart two-way player who can produce a lot of offense. He's absolutely going to be on this team. So to me, I put like an all-Florida line: Hagel, Point, Reinhart. Now, your next line, I'm going to put with Crosby. Marchand's already on this team. He's played with Crosby a lot in the past. So those two are obviously both Nova Scotian natives. They trained together in the summer. They've played together in Team Canada in the past. So I'm going to keep that together. And we're going to add Mitch Marner on the other side. Mitch Marner, I know when it comes to the Leafs in the playoffs, I've given him a lot of hard times. But at the end of the day, this is a different beast, different animal. Marner would be surrounded by a lot of different players. And Marner is kind of a... not really a unicorn forward, but in a way, he is very good defensively. He kills penalties. He blocks shots. He will, doesn't block shots as much as I like sometimes, but, he is not only an incredibly gifted playmaking winger, but he is really good on the other side of the puck. So you're not going to get the mistakes and the turnovers and stuff. And you get him and Reinhart both on that, on the wing, not together, but, you're going to get a lot of, possession time. You're not going to have a lot of mistakes. So Crosby, Marner, Marchand. On your fourth line, I'm going, like I said, O'Reilly's going to be the center. Mark Stone, if he's healthy, because there's always a big question mark around Mark Stone. And then Mark Scheifele. Scheifele will play his off wing because he has the right shot. But that line would be incredibly tough to play against. Scheifele, to me, is underrated. I know at times he gets a little bit of grief for his defensive play, but to be honest, in the past when Scheifele's been given a hard time for that, it's not that he doesn't have the ability. It's I just think his meter, I call it like your give a crap meter, so to speak. at times in the past was not where it needed to be. But I think that's changed. I think we've seen a different version of Shea the past couple of years. Really, really smart player. And O'Reilly and Stone, some of the best two-way players, good sticks. So, like, you're going to have these guys that are incredibly talented offensively. They're not going to, a lot of these guys are really good defensively and are going to obviously have a high possession rate, and they all have high offensive skill. Now, your extra forward, like Connor Bedard is going to be on this team. I just don't know that he's going to be in the lineup regularly, or maybe somebody else sits, but I do think they will take Bedard, if nothing else, to get him experience, because he will be a huge presence for Canada in the future, has been in the past at the lower levels, and he will be again. So I do think for sure Bedard is the 13th forward. He might have to start there, and then, as somebody might struggle, maybe he gets into their role and, kind of takes over. I could see him starting as the 13th forward, and maybe by the end of the tournament, he's one of the top scorers. That would not be shocking. A couple other players that I was, could be there as extras, but I thought, wasn't completely sold on. Steven Stamkos had a slow start in Nashville. He hasn't always been on Team Canada in the past. Could be there, but I don't know that he's going to be. And another one I really debated on was Alexis Lafreniere with the Rangers. He's come a long ways. Obviously played with the World Juniors for Canada in the past, so has that connection. I considered him for the Brandon Hagel spot with Point and Reinhardt, and maybe they go that route. But I think Hagel's a little bit more experienced, a little bit more established, has a cup. He's got a little bit more. Just a little bit more resume to take that spot, in my opinion. But Lafreniere, to me, is a bubble player. I can see him maybe being there, but it's not a given. And maybe, like I said, here, I'm not sure how many extra forwards they're going to be allowed to take, but, Bedard and Lafreniere are guys, if you can take, even if they're the 13th, 14th forwards, you want to get them that experience for the future. Stamkos is at a different point in his career. He may not be on this team, but depending on how many extra guys you can take for injuries and whatnot, I'd consider it. So that is my roster. Obviously, like I said before, we're going to do Team USA, Sweden, and Finland as well. We'll do those in the coming days. So let me know what you think. Obviously, I know not everybody's going to agree with me, and that's totally fine. Let me know in the comments what your roster would look like. And certainly back up your choices. I did it here. I expect you to do the same. We can have a pleasant conversation in the comments, debating on who should be representing the great country of Canada and who will have a shot at winning. They will have a tough time. It's going to be a really short and very tough tournament, especially with some of the holes on this roster compared to some of their competitors. Let me know your thoughts, and we'll talk about it in the comments as mentioned. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.